Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a e-verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to Cloud Test Lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
Yeah, I've started recording. Yesterday we have mentioned about our model class or our form bean. Our form bean was supposed to extend one class, which is action form class. Action form is an abstract class, but it's not required for you to implement any of the methods. They have just mentioned that as an abstract class, but it has a dummy implementation available for those abstract methods as well. The purpose of extending action form, we have already seen one usage. You are able to get the form details directly within your execute method of the action class. So your struts will make use of the top level hierarchy action form, and it will create a low level object, and it will call the getters and setters, and it will set those information, and it will pass on that to you as a form bean instead of request parameters. The second usage is normally the validation will perform at JavaScript level, or else we'll do the validation at our servlet level. As of now, we are not doing any kind of validations. Validation in the sense whether the user has entered the username or not, or whether the user has entered the password or not. And also you can verify whether the password has met all the requirements, like the length of the password should be more than 6 characters. Or else you can say password shouldn't contain special characters. So these kind of validations, either you can perform at the JavaScript level or you can perform at the server side level as well. So when you extend action form class, action form has the capability of performing the validation. It has two important methods. The first one is validate method and reset method. Validate method is used to perform the form parameters validation. So this validate method will be called by your struts framework before executing in the action class or before forwarding the request to action class. When your controller has received the request, it will take a look at into struts config.xml and it will populate the form parameters. And once after that, it will verify what is the action class corresponding to the URI. Based on that, it will dispatch the request to action class. But before that, if you have mentioned to the struts framework that I have a validate method, please call the validate method before forwarding the request to action class. If the validate method has returned true value, that means validation has successful, then it will forward the request to action class, or else it will return the error message back to the browser saying that some fields are not available. So your action class won't come into the picture at all, if the validate method has failed. One another advantage of using Struts framework is, with the validate method, let us say your username was not available. So normally you will display some error message to the user specifying that username is required or password is required. Those kind of static information you can configure in properties file. Struts has the capability of reading the key value pair from the property file, and it will display the value onto the GUI representation. So within your Java code or within your validate method, it's not required for you to provide a static content. You can specify a key from the property file, and the corresponding value will be displayed automatically by Struts framework. So let us come back to our employee form. Here you can see that we are extending one class, action form. So I'm going to override those two methods. First one is validate method. Go to source, override or implement methods, select validate, action mapping, and HTTP servlet request. The purpose of selecting this method, HTTP method, we have already discussed yesterday. So the validate method will provide you action mapping, which will provide a reference to your struts config.xml file, and also it will provide you a HTTP servlet request, because your request consists of all the required parameters. If at all, if you want some other parameters other than this form bean, then you can retrieve them by using request. I'll show that, Vijay, one more time. Just give me a second, please. Once after this, our responsibility is to verify. See, from our login page, we are going to submit two parameters, username and password. So we need to verify whether those two parameters consist of some data or not. So I'm verifying if username equal to null, or if username dot equals, let us say someone has entered some empty space without data, they have just entered only an empty space. So for that also you need to respond specifying that not a valid field. If username null, then you need to configure our logger. Employee form.class. So if username is null, just specify some message to the console. Username was not available. And in the same way, if password was null, here I'm not writing if else case, because I need to verify whether both the fields are available or not. So here mention that password was not available. And once after that, here you have displayed some information to the console, but that's not what we are expecting correctly. We need the information to be passed back to our JSP page. To pass the information back to the JSP page, you need to construct one more object, which is action errors. Whenever you have an error, so currently our username is not available, that is our error. You need to construct an action error object, which is our return type. Errors consists of a method add. You can see that add string of property, comma, action message. So here property nothing but to which property you want to associate the error message. So currently the error message was associated to username property. And also you need to create an action message. Action message nothing but you are expecting or you are declaring a key from your property file. That will be specified by using action message class. You can create an action message class. Action message class accepts a key. Currently my key is errors.username. I will use this same key within my property file, and I will specify the corresponding value within my property file. Go back to our property file. So currently my property file is message resource.properties file. So the key is error.username, and the error message is username required. That is the key value pair for my properties file. Now you have constructed a message. You just need to pass that as a parameter to your errors object. Now I have created message resources file. See, this is our resources file. You can create any kind of resources in this. This will be added directly to your build path. In the same way, create one more object, one more message to your password as well. So it's not required for you to create separately. You can create here itself new action message of errors.password. So this is one more key from my property file. So let us go and declare one more thing here. Errors.password, password required. So finally, you need to return that errors. Return errors. Property file, you can just right click on resources, go to new. Here there is a option for property file. Select this one, provide a name for this. I have provided the name as message resource.properties. No issues. Yeah, you can provide any name. So here we have constructed our errors. See, currently who will be going to call this method? This will be called by the Struts framework. So when you have returned the errors back to the Struts framework, Struts will understand that. Struts will verify, are there any error messages within action errors object. So currently let us say if username and password both are not entered from the front end, then you have two error messages, two error objects which got added to your action errors. Struts understands that there is an issue with respect to the front end. Then it was supposed to forward the request back to the same page, nothing but whoever has submitted the request, and it will say the error message based on this key. It will get the value from the property file and it will display to the user. Currently we are working with respect to username and password. So take login with username. I just need to change this code, the front end code. I'm just converting by using HTML tags instead of normal tags, Struts HTML tags. Once you have written validate method, you are supposed to inform to the Struts framework that there is a validate method available within our action form, and Struts was supposed to call that validate method. This will be specified by an attribute within your action. There is an attribute called validate. Previously this was with false case. Just turn on this to true. If you didn't turn on this, Struts won't call the validate method within your action form. Now come back to our login with username page. Let us execute this one. Login username mapping was not available. That means Struts was not able to find the corresponding action class within our struts config.xml file. Currently, I don't have login with username action. Let me fill that one. Employee form, login username. It will go to login action. So within my login action, I just need to change some code. It is accepting employee ID. I guess I have that code. The same login action, it will verify whether the request was received for username password or employee ID password. So based on that, it will call the get user details within my processor, and the processor will call Hibernate query. Hibernate, here we are using HQL. This will respond back to the action class and the data will get displayed properly. Let us execute one more time. This time no issues. Enter the details properly, Steve and Steve. So the data has fetched properly and it has displayed. Now don't enter username and enter only password. Verify the logs. Here you can see that our method has executed. So here you can see that request processor is calling validating input form properties, and this is the message that was written by us. Struts username was not available, and request processor has specified that validation failed but no input form available. Currently the validation has failed, nothing but our Struts framework has executed the validate method. Come back to our form bean. Employee DEO. So I'm sorry, employee form. So it has displayed this message, Struts username was not available. And once after that, you have already seen how request processor has printed the next statement. Let me change to info mode so that we can see only the messages that are getting displayed by us. Let me execute one line and we'll see where the issue. So I'm not entering the username, entering only password. Currently, you can see that it has displayed the message in employee form, Struts username not available. And here you can see that Struts has responded with an error message specifying that HTTP status 500, no input attribute for mapping path / login username. What happened was, once it has executed the employee form, and if there are any errors available, then Struts will again look into struts config.xml file, and it will expect one attribute, which is input attribute. The purpose of input attribute is whenever there is an error occurred, to which page it was supposed to traverse the request. Struts won't remember that it has received the request from login with username page. It won't remember that. It will expect you to provide the input parameter to which you want to send the error information. That will be by using input attribute. That's the reason it was complaining that no input attribute for mapping / login username. Currently, we don't have any mapping. I'm sorry, I have written at the wrong location. Login with username, it was supposed to match the case as well, or else still it will say that it couldn't able to find the JSP file. Login with username.jsp. So now we have set the input attribute. Come back to our JSP page and execute one more time. This time you can see that it has executed the validate method and based on the input param, it has returned back to the same page. But here we didn't see any error messages. When we enter Steve and some other data, click on submit, some issue with the code. Anyway, we can fix this one. Previously, when we are using employee ID and password, and if the employee ID was not available, it will respond back to the same page and it will specify that employee ID and password was not available. But here, it was responded back to the same page, but it hasn't displayed the error information. To display the error information, you need to use Struts tag library. In Struts HTML tag library, there is a tag called errors. The errors tag will be used to display the error messages onto the front end. Errors accepts a property. The property is nothing but whatever the name that you have specified here. Currently, you have specified the name as username. Specify this as username, and also in the same way specify the other property as well. See, if you didn't specify the property, it will display all the error messages. Just like if you write only errors tag without any attribute, then it will display all the error messages that are available within our action messages. But if you want to display only single message, you can just go ahead and use the property tag, and this will display the error message properly onto the front end. Let me write some font so that it will display in red color. Now, let us execute one more time. You can see that it has displayed the message username required from our properties file. Let us enter only username. You can see that it has changed to password required. Let us remove both. Username required and password required. Now enter the correct details. So the flow would be, first it will hit the validate method, and the validate method you are going to construct the error messages, and in the error message you are going to specify the key from your property file. Once you have specified the key from the property file, or else once this method has completed, Struts will verify are there any errors, are there any action messages within error object. Yes, currently there are 2 available. Struts understands that it was supposed to return the response back to the JSP page but not to the action class. Then it won't dispatch the request to the action class, and it will dispatch the request back to the same JSP page based on input tag. During our during our JSP display, our login with username display, this time there are 2 error messages available, and you have mentioned the property as username and password, and the username you have associated with an action message with a property file key value. Then it will take a look into this particular key value, error username, and it will get the value from the property file and it will display onto the console. Sorry, it will display to the user. That is how the whole flow will be for validate method. There is one more important one. Normally we won't use that particular method, but if at all, if you want the data to be refreshed for each and every client request, then you can go for that method, which is reset method. To add a method to add the methods from superclasses, you just need to go to source, click on override or implement methods, and here select the method syntax. We'll select reset action mapping HTTP servlet request. If you want, you can write some code in this to reset all your existing fields. The reset method will be called by the Struts framework before populating the form beans. So first, the flow will be, first it will call the reset method, then it will call the setter methods to assign the form information, and once after that, it will call the validate method.
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website H2KInfosys.com. On our website H2KInfosys.com, you will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@h2kinfosys.com or h2kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.